Kia ora! We're nearly there. We're up to annotation. Now, once you have found some good information from your websites, you've copied and pasted it and you've highlighted it, now you need to annotate. Now, annotation is just writing notes beside it, which explains or repeats what is in the text. You're summarizing. You're writing notes that summarize the important information. Now, what I've done here is I've found this bit of information out of a book which is useful. So it talks about the Cuban Missile Crisis. I've highlighted here, Russia seemed to be losing the Cold War, and 3.5 million troops in the US were on the borders of the Soviet Union. Well, all of that information answers focusing question 2. What reasons can you find to explain the development, the Cuban Missile Crisis? So I've highlighted it green because it answers focusing question 2. I've highlighted this yellow because it answers focusing question 1. If I scroll down a little bit, I might even have some blue stuff here because it answers focusing question 3. That was all in the last video, and most importantly I've kept it left of this line because anything on the other side of this line will get cut off when you submit your work. Everything that gets highlighted also gets annotated, and what I've written here is on this annotation on the side, I've explained the reasons why I've highlighted this thing. This source answers focusing question 1. It identifies the Cuban Missile Crisis as a significant event as Russia was losing the Cold War. Down here I've highlighted 2 things here from this. I've highlighted them green, and then I've annotated on the side. I've summarized in my own words, and I've explained why I've highlighted it. Let me scroll down. Here's another event. The US Navy blockaded or put a cordon around Cuba, so no one was allowed in and out of Cuba. Well, this answers focusing question 1 because it states the US naval blockade as a response to the Cuban Missile Crisis, which caused a strong military escalation of the development. Something that's worth noting is I'm not highlighting the entire paragraph, I'm just selectively highlighting some bits. Your annotations generally should not be longer than what you've highlighted. Keep them brief. Down here, I've upped my game a little bit. I've done a damn good annotation here because I've talked about other things, such as reliability. Now, this source here is a Soviet view of New Zealand during the Cold War. Well, if that's a Soviet view, then that's going to have bias. That's going to be swayed to one side of the Soviet view. It's not really going to have an American view or a New Zealand view. And if I look down here, if I keep reading, it says, here we go. His account of this journey, published when he returned to the Soviet Union, reads like propaganda, which is exactly what it is. So this is an unreliable source. And because I'm an intelligent person and I've understood that this is propaganda, I've made a note of that in my annotation on the side. Although the reliability of this source is questionable because this is clearly a piece of Russian propaganda. Make notes about reliability, make notes about usefulness, make summarizing notes explaining why you've highlighted things, and definitely make notes on the side explaining this answers focusing question 3 because. This is going to get repetitive. This answers focusing question 2 because. This answers focusing question 2 and 1 because. This photograph answers focusing question 2 because. The quality of your annotations does give you higher grades. Annotations will boost your grade up to merit or excellence depending on the depth and perceptive nature of your annotations.